Let's dive into this. Today, our explainer is entirely focused on unlocking what is arguably our most critical, yet rarely taught life skill, emotional intelligence. We're going to explore exactly what it is, how we can actively develop it, and how increasing our emotional quotient can radically transform our daily lives, our careers, and basically every relationship we have.
So, have you ever deeply regretted something you said, or maybe something you did? It's a heavy question, right? But as researchers at Psych2Go point out, all of us have those moments where we just act on impulse. We let a sudden wave of anger or jealousy completely take the wheel. We tend to think of intelligence as just raw brain power, solving complex equations or coding software. But honestly, what good is that massive intellect if a single spilled cup of coffee or a passing comment can completely hijack your entire day?
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The intelligence we forgot. 2. Defining emotional intelligence. 3. The 4 core domains. 4. Frameworks to build EQ. And 5. The real-world payoff. All right, Section 1. The intelligence we forgot.
Think about your education for a second. Traditional schooling focuses heavily on algebra, history, science, but it almost entirely misses a crucial life metric: what to actually do when we're paralyzed by stress or blinded by anger. And this brilliantly illustrates the real difference between traditional intelligence and emotional intelligence. As psychologist Daniel Goleman points out, your IQ is relatively fixed over your lifetime. It's the baseline cognitive ability that might, get your foot in the door, help you land the job. But your EQ, your emotional intelligence, it is highly neuroplastic. It's totally learnable at any stage of life, and it is the exact metric that distinguishes your average worker from a truly outstanding visionary leader.
And when we lack these skills, the costs are visceral. Speaker Ramona Hacker shared this incredibly powerful personal anecdote in her TEDx talk. You see, she always prided herself on pure, cold logic. But eventually, her unmanaged emotional life caught up to her, leading to a severe burnout that literally forced her to drop out of her job. She found herself hiding in public restrooms just to cry, entirely unable to understand or manage the tears streaming down her face. That is the very real, physical toll of an uneducated emotional life.
Moving on to Section 2, Defining Emotional Intelligence.
So, emotional intelligence is definitely not just some modern corporate buzzword. The foundational definition, which was formulated by psychologists Mayer and Salovey back in 1990, defines it as the brain's concrete ability to perceive, use, understand, and manage emotions effectively. It's a highly measurable psychological mechanism. Think of it as the ability to see feelings coming, listen to what they're telling you, and ultimately align your heart with your head. Section 3. The 4 core domains. Daniel Goleman basically maps emotional intelligence across these 4 pillars. First up is self-awareness, knowing exactly what you are feeling in the moment. This is the absolute bedrock. Without it, you really can't do the rest. Second is self-management, handling those emotions so they don't derail you. Third is social awareness, which is essentially empathy, tuning into the feelings of others. And finally, relationship management, using all of this to guide, influence, and resolve conflicts. The ultimate goal here is to deliberately widen that crucial gap between a sudden emotional impulse and your physical reaction.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it plays out in group dynamics. Goleman's research at Yale highlights that emotions are literally contagious, and they spread from the leader outward. Think about it. If a leader is frantic and anxious, the whole team catches that anxiety, and performance plummets. But if a leader is enthusiastic and supportive, that positive mood spreads like wildfire, and the team's output completely surges. Your emotional state is never just about you. It actually dictates the climate of everyone around you.
Section 4. Frameworks to build EQ. Looking at Yale's mood meter here, I want you to actively ask yourself, where do you fall right now? Are you in the high-energy, pleasant yellow zone? Or maybe you're in the low-energy, unpleasant blue zone? Dr. Mark Brackett emphasizes that all quadrants have immense value. We shouldn't just be striving to be happy all the time. The blue zone is deeply necessary for empathy and processing grief. Even the angry red zone has incredible utility. It's exactly what fuels our passion to fight against injustice. The key is really just knowing where you are. Once you know where you are, you can use Brackett's meta moment. This is exactly how you stop an emotional hijack. So a trigger occurs. Say someone cuts you off in traffic or insults your work. You feel your heart racing, but instead of snapping back, you pause, you take a breath. And then, crucially, step 4, you visualize your best self. Ask yourself,
How does the most confident, compassionate version of me handle this? This visualization completely shifts your brain out of fight or flight, allowing you to strategize a response that you definitely won't regret tomorrow.
Ramona Hacker uses a similar, highly effective method. She recommends writing your emotions down in a journal to create psychological distance. By differentiating between, say, jealousy and envy, or sadness and frustration, you actually give yourself power over the feeling. She beautifully points out that we shouldn't try to cut sadness out of our lives. Sadness isn't a bad thing. It's simply a beautiful illustration of the deep appreciation we hold for someone or something we've lost.
And the best part is, you can compound this mastery over time with daily micro-habits. Psych2Go suggests affect labeling. Simply naming the specific emotion you feel out loud drastically reduces your related stress. Start noticing your physical manifestations, like a racing heart or a clenched jaw. And please, don't underestimate basic self-care. Scientists have found that simply taking a walk increases cerebral blood flow, instantly clearing mental fog. These small, everyday actions are actively rewiring your brain's neural pathways.
Finally, Section 5, the real-world payoff. So the crucial point is beautifully illustrated by an anecdote Daniel Goleman loves to tell. He was on a really hot, humid bus in New York City, surrounded by grumpy commuters totally trapped in their own bubbles of irritation. But the bus driver had this soaring level of social awareness. He warmly greeted everyone. He pointed out museum exhibits and department store sales, just engaging them with pure conversational empathy. By the time people got off that bus, they were completely transformed, smiling, upbeat. That driver didn't just see his job as transit. He literally used emotional intelligence to completely shift the emotional climate of an entire city block.
And we see how it changes lives in our schools, too. Mark Brackett shares the story of Gareth, a young boy who was horrifically bullied, called ugly, and was completely failing his classes. But when he transferred to a school that actively taught emotional intelligence and fostered an emotionally safe, supportive climate, everything changed. Gareth learned to process his trauma and blossomed into an empowered, confident poet who literally received standing ovations from his peers. When we feel emotionally safe, our true cognitive and creative potential is finally unleashed.
The School of Life delivers this incredibly philosophical punch on the matter. They point out that our species has grown ever more technically adept, sure, but without emotional education, that soaring intelligence is actually a terrifying liability. We are, as they put it, evolved monkeys with nuclear weapons. A sane future doesn't just depend on our ability to write code or build machines, it depends entirely on our capacity to master our inner lives and, crucially, teach emotional intelligence to the next generation. Which brings us to the end of our explainer. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Think about the very next time you were triggered today. Seriously, how will you handle it? Will you let the impulse hijack you, or will you take a breath and visualize your best self? Because the emotional culture you choose to create right now doesn't just affect you. It ripples out to literally everyone around you. Thank you so much for joining me, and I challenge